Good morning. Welcome to Just for Today, a time of eclectic reading, sharing of perspectives, meditation, and prayer. I'm Reverend Rafe Ellis, Senior Minister and Spiritual Leader of the newly joined Centers for Spiritual Living Communities of Columbia and Greater Baltimore. Today is November 18th. And this morning I am reading from Dan Millman's book, The Laws of Spirit, A Tale of Transformation. And I opened it up to page 83, and my eyes landed on this. It's toward the end of the page. The seasons have much to teach you, and your dream is a sign that you're ready to understand. Understand what? That the winds of change may come as a fierce hurricane, ripping your life asunder, or as a tender breeze that caresses your cheeks. That change is the only constant, and that it happens in its own way, in its own time. Now, I don't know about you, but this whole thing with change is a continuing dance of understanding, of letting go of resistance, a dance of coming to terms that the timing of life is very different sometimes than the timing of my human expectations, of my human agenda. And just that little blurb reminds me that change is happening, whether I see it or not. And that, for me, really aligns with what we teach metaphysically as science of mind, new thought, whatever flavor we call it, is that infinite possibility, life itself, consciousness, absolute reality, whatever we call it, God, is always unfolding newness continuously. And it's not always perceptible in our human experience. And so that's where faith comes in, is that we learn to lean into trusting that life is unfolding perfectly, and that just because I don't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, right? I don't see electricity. I see the effects of electricity. I see the use of electricity. I see the channeling of electricity. But I don't actually see electricity. I don't see love. I see the outpicturing of love. I see the manifestation, the physical form, the activity of love. But I don't actually see love per se. Change is the same way. I don't see change until it reaches a certain point where it becomes experiential. That doesn't mean it's not happening. It just means it's happening outside of my human awareness. And what if we just leaned into knowing with absolute certainty that life is constant change, that resistance truly is futile, and that the change is always moving life forward. It's always evolutionary. And so it must be for our good. It must be. Even when we dislike the change. Because there are times when we don't like the change, right? You plan a picnic, you don't like the thunderstorm in the middle of it. Let's just keep it real. And I know that's a really benign example, but it's one that everybody can grasp, right? So it's the same thing if you're planning a trip and suddenly you can't go on that trip. Something's wrong with the plane. Better to know while you're on the tarmac than when you're in the air, right? So it unfolds however it unfolds. So that's what's alive in me about this whole being with change process. And I'm going to read that reading one more time, just for those of you who do reference it. It's on page 83 of Dan Millman's book, The Laws of Spirit, A Tale of Transformation. And reading from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, from the 10th sentence from the bottom. The seasons have much to teach you, and your dream is a sign that you're ready to understand. Understand what? That the winds of change may come as a fierce hurricane, ripping your life asunder, or as a tender breeze that caresses your cheeks. That change is the only constant, and that it happens in its own way, in its own time. So let's take that into our time of meditation and contemplation. And so in this moment, I am filled with joy as I remember, as I remind myself, as I recognize, as I know again, as I recognize there is only one. One power, one presence, known by many, many names. Some call it God. Some call it Spirit. Some call it truth. Some call it nature. Whatever we call it, it is everywhere present. And in its infiniteness, in the infinity of it, it has no circumference. And so its very center must be everywhere present. It is eternal, having no beginning, having no end. It simply is, has always been. It is self-existent, made of itself. And it expresses itself in the multiplicity of creation. No two expressions of itself the same. Always displaying infinite possibility and form. Knowing itself, being itself, experiencing itself as its creation. Fully infusing its creation with itself, because it is the substance of which all is made. So every expression of it must contain it. And so the creative process is infused in every form of creation and expresses perfectly at its level of expression. And I know that I am that in form. I know that everyone listening in this moment, in any moment, and everyone not listening ever moment is that in form. That everything, every person, every place, every idea expressed is the infinite expressing itself. And so that must be constant change. An infinite beingness continuously expressing itself in multiplicity, always moving itself forward, always evolving itself into greater expressions of the infinite possibility that it is. This is the change of life. This is life expressing continuously. And so I speak my word, claiming and affirming a welcoming of that. A recognition that change is the holy activity of creation. To meet it with arms wide open. To meet change free of resistance, welcoming every advancement forward. Celebrating infinite possibility, expressing. Celebrating every breath is another change. Every day, another change. Every new idea, another change, to be embraced, embodied, and celebrated. And so I give thanks for the activity of law within this creative process that is the doer within the creative process that simply receives the idea and makes it happen. Manifests it in form, manifests it in experience, always mirroring back to each of us perfectly what we hold in our thoughts and in our beliefs, what the collective of humanity holds in its thoughts and beliefs, what the collectives of a community, of a city, of a county, of a country, of a nation holds in its collective belief. Grateful for that constant feedback. That feedback loop that informs me of my spiritual practice. So I am grateful for the activity of law. And I know that it has already responded to this prayer, to the word spoken, to the word held underneath, in awareness and outside of awareness. Law is responding, has already responded, continues to respond. It is already so beyond time and space. And so I open to an experience of this change. I surrender my awareness so that I am more aware. I release all resistance. I release all of the mental roadblocks that would in any way keep me unaware of the full power and presence and manifestation of the word spoken. I let go. And I say yes. Yes to experiencing the fluidity and the glory of change. Yes. Ashe. Shalom. Aho. Amin. Amen. And so it is. Namaste.